I think it's a great option to have. I think I prefer a standard textbook, but I also it is nice to have the option, for OER, especially because it's cheaper. I know that's a big thing for a lot of people, um, but it can also be problematic. Last semester in Miss Glove's class, she had the OER like online where just linked to all the different pages, but I had the textbook, and they were different versions. So there was like some edits had been made, and so there was changes and stuff like that. Like nothing, not like a huge deal, obviously, but I do think it's a good option to have.
I really liked having that option, specifically because it was, we didn't have to pay for it. I think on top of the fact that I could download the PDF or whatever resource it was, and then which I've done before, and then use later on before a different course. I knew that I needed to brush up on some work, so I could just open the PDF, go to the chapters that I knew I needed help on, and then kind of dig into those before I got to the next course I was taking. So I think it's really useful. You can save it and open it up whenever you need it. So
I also like reading from a page instead of digitally, but I did like that the online version got updated a lot quicker than obviously the textbook did. I think there was a few instances in our class when the professor had hers downloaded to her computer and I was using like the online format. And so mine was updated like right away.
So overall, I really enjoy using it. I also thought that it made my history class a lot more interesting. So we used a lot of different subject matter instead of a traditional textbook, which was awesome.
I really like open educational resources because, like, I personally think, like, when, like, with the issues between, like, the different editions and stuff, I've gotten that with, like, in-person textbooks as well, because, like, I try to go for the cheapest option because I'm, like, taking 6 classes, and if I get $100 textbooks in all of them, then that's a lot of money. So, like, I'll get lower editions to lower the cost, and then I still run into, like, discrepancy within the edition. So that's not, like, partial to OERs, I think. I don't think, as long as everybody's using the same textbook, I haven't run into any difficulties with them, like, being lower quality, because at least with, like, the math classes I've taken, they're not teaching directly from the textbook. They're using, like, the sections as a guide to teach me the content, and then I use the textbook as, like, a way to, like, catch up on things that I might have missed.
My advice would be to do it. It's cost saving to every student. Not to mention it saves the trees. And also, like, the rapid information that's put out there and the updates and the other resources that come with OER, and how easily accessible they are. You can get a textbook and it'll say like, oh, go to this website or whatever, but OER just makes it that much more simpler to just click a link, or, sometimes they'll have like their own videos embedded into the information to help deliver, the materials in a different manner. For me, I find it hard to read long text sometimes, especially if they're about math, kind of confusing or whatever, but having the OER format, I'm able to like have the content spoken to me, which makes it a lot easier for me personally to stick with and understand and not just get lost in a bunch of letters and words.
I definitely say that faculty members should use OER as an option for sure. I don't know if it would be possible somehow for when students are signing up for classes, that if some way the professor can be flagged and say that this professor uses OER or this class uses OER in some way, shape, or form, to give us sort of a heads up saying that, like, that there's that little bit of stress in between, the first week of class where, we're trying to figure out how we're going to get the money to buy to purchase a textbook, or, am I going to have the money in time? And that way, by the end of the week, can I dive into the work as soon as possible? So, if there's some way, shape, or form where we can be, students can be notified ahead of time, I don't know how that would go, but I think that would help a lot.
So the stress of trying to get your book shipped at a certain time,
Yeah.
and not get like behind in class and whatnot.
Teachers, should be using them, but I also feel that there should still be an option to have to use a textbooks if you want to. And
So you're saying that for the classes that offer OER, it would be nice to be able to purchase a print copy so you can have it at home?
yeah, just so, I mean, like, to have more classes using OER, but then if the student wants to, they can go out and buy that textbook too.
I say do it. I've enjoyed all the classes I've taken that have used that. I've enjoyed, and I really haven't seen much difference between that and a traditional classroom that uses regular textbooks. If they're hesitant about using open source, then maybe take a semester and incorporate some assignments just to see how the teacher likes it and see if they like how their students interact with it and stuff, just get comfortable with it. So
I think if it would be an option, maybe the classes that are offered online do OER, and then the ones that are taught in person stick with like traditional resources. That way, if you're taking an online class, you don't really expect to have like a textbook in your hand anyway. So people kind of understand what they're getting into when they sign up for their classes.
If there was like two classes that had like the same schedule, and the only difference kind of was whether it used an OER or not, I would definitely go for the OER option because, like I mentioned, a lot of classes, a lot of textbooks, a lot of money. So kind of saving that where I can. And I've not had any bad experience. I think if a student hasn't had a class with it, then I don't know how they would know what it is. So just kind of like make more people, like professors and like students alike, just aware of it. And then maybe if more students know what it is, then they'll be more likely to like sign up for those classes and make professors see that it's like a good option. But like open educational resources, I think are still kind of a mystery to some. So yeah.
Maybe there's a message that pops up there with that date and says, like, hey, don't forget about OERs. And then like Ashton said, explain about the what an OER is. And that way that'll, immediately keep my mind open when I'm signing up for classes, like, hey, this is what that is. And then let me take that into account when I'm picking a class. So
it's over here to the right where like the class details. So one of them has the no cost symbol and the other one doesn't.
Is that symbol on like, because are these looks like classes that you're enrolled in? Is this in
No,
like,
this is like I don't know why the screen's like not all the way big when I logged on, but the enrollment add classes, like if I were to add a class to my schedule right now, this is just searching for a class.
oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I definitely, if you didn't know what that was, that wouldn't help you much. You know what I mean? Like, see it now that we're talking about it and we know what that little symbol is, that, okay, we can see that. But I mean, I probably saw that at some point signing up for classes.
Yeah.
I just had no clue what it meant.
And they're so few and far between that like, it's not something that you like even see often.
and you need a magnifying glass to see it because I could barely still see it when I looked at my screen.
But I think just having more classes with that option, maybe that's skipping ahead a few steps, but just by having more classes that have that symbol, then I'm in a meeting. Then it would be easier to know what it meant and to pick classes that have it because there would be more of them.
I mean, this semester I kind of picked, I want to use the right term, no set meeting time, I think is the term, where the instructor teaches like ahead of time, like records himself teach. So I just have to watch it instead of attend a live lecture.
I'm really good at losing books. I don't know what it is about them. And I have a bookshelf, but every time I get a textbook, it's gone within a week. And then I'm like, every time I have an assignment, I'm like, where is it? So having OERs on my phone and laptop is like super helpful, because I don't lose those because they're not book shaped. I don't know what it is about them.
I have a couple teachers that like don't like to use Canvas for whatever reason. And so like everything is on Canvas and it works together really well. And then you have one professor who's like, I don't want to do that. And so like you have to go to a whole different website and a whole like you have no idea, you know what I mean? Like it's just a real struggle. Like I feel like Canvas should be a requirement. Like they should have to put their stuff on there.
I agree with Kenny. I definitely had a class that was aside from Canvas, and I think that now that we're all in that work from home and doing everything digitally, it's a lot easier to have everything in one place that you can access all your information.
I just want to quickly say that I agree that Canvas, the work, everything is so streamlined in there. It would be very easy to get lost with having to deal with another website like I'm doing with Cengage. And
I agree with everybody else that Canvas should be something that's more universally used. If there was more support for the professors in helping to set up their class and get their information on Canvas in a more easy to navigate manner, that would be fantastic.
So it's just a lot easier if everything's on Canvas. And I know for some professors, they have their reason for that. But I mean, at the end of the day, if everything's on Canvas and then I have to go to another class and then now I need an orientation on how your website works.
Yeah, thank you for setting this up and trying to let us talk about it and tell professors what we think about OERs and stuff.